This entire video is going to be based around the in-depth things, everything you should know about Cascade if you are an in-depth player, meaning you are not just getting into it. We have a video on that before. The video will be in the description. However, this is going to be the in-depth side of things, the small things that add up to making runs quicker, making runs better, more profitable, all that kind of stuff. So first, a refresher on why we run Cascade and why this video is necessary. We run Cascade because it's the most profitable platform in terms of boss fur. The reason we run Cascade is so that we can get arcanes. Arcanes drop from Thrax. When you kill a Thrax, there is a small chance to get arcane drops. And then you can also have that boosted by playing in Sealed Path, and then also having a mod drop chance booster on top of that. Borrow brings it. You can get it from the calendar. You can get it from a plethora of things. We explained this in the last video. However, that is why we run Cascade. And then you turn the arcanes into Phosphor, and you make them into Eidolon arcanes, the Diri arcanes, Necrolisk arcanes, all that kind of stuff. It's very good for Platinum. It is also a engaging and active kind of game mode, and that is why we run it as well. There's pretty much no downtime whatsoever. That being said, let's hop into it. How to roll tiles. This is a very asked thing on my stream. A lot of people do not understand how to roll tiles. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to look for a 5 tile. As you can see on screen, this is Hangar or Bay. If you get this in a run, ideally you stay. What you don't want is all 3 of the exact same rooms, which is like a 3, a 3, a 3. And what that means is there's 3 exo spawns in each of those rooms. You do not want that, because then it will make your Cascade run take an extra up to 20 to 40 minutes. You want to be in and out. You want to min-max the parts where you can make plat. More exos that spawn mean more Thrax, which means more arcanes. Ideally, this is what you want to run. You want to run a 5, 4, and 3. It doesn't really matter the order. However, 5, 4, 3 is the ideal tile set for a Cascade Fisher run. You can see those on screen at the moment. A 4, 3, 3 will work. You can see that on screen as well. A 3, 3, 3 is borderline unplayable. It's just not worth it. You want to run a Fisher. A Fisher adds 15 seconds every single time you pop one. That time adds up as you pop 27 relics over the span of a specific time. 27 relics, you're adding just there alone about 10 minutes. So you want to min-max the time as much as possible. Best operator arcanes, in my opinion, is Emergent Savior and Magus Cloud. Magus Cloud, what it'll do is it'll allow you to clear all the tiers in the exo very, very quickly. You don't have to shoot them. You don't have to do anything like that. You just hold your invis, which is control, or you hold your crouch button, whatever it is on controller, and then you dash through them. It'll clear most of them, and then you just shoot the last one. Now, Savior is so that if you are in your operator, if you do take lethal damage, you will not die, and you will have like a time period where you're invulnerable, and you can actually stay alive to get your exo cleared. When to rotate and when not to rotate. This is a very, very big thing. A lot of people, even some experienced people, don't understand. Essentially, you have 2 attackers, you have 2 defenders. The first attacker will go to the next exo at all times. The second attacker will come to the next room when there's only 1 to 2 exos left in the room that the squad is currently in. The flex defender, which is the second defender, will go to the next room when there's 1 exo left. And the final defender will leave when there's about 10 seconds left on your exo, because it takes a minimum of 10 seconds for a Thrax to recover an exo. So you want to make sure you're getting there. You want to make sure you're rotating. Otherwise, spawns won't be as good, which means reactant won't be as good, which means less relics pop, which also means less profit. Nobody wants that, right? How to clear exos faster. It goes kind of in hand with the operator arcanes. You want to essentially get into the habit of double void slinging, because not only will this proc onslaught and all these other things that it'll proc, but it'll also pop the tiers in a quicker fashion. And then if you void sling twice, you also get sling strength. So if you're planning to pop an ability immediately after clearing an exo, you can also get sling strength. You can also get the casting speed from Madurai, just from going into your operator, all that kind of stuff. You always want to be slinging twice. It's a very healthy thing to get into. Bugging an exo happens when you're in a relic or in a Fisher run of Cascade. If there's a timer on your screen for the countdown for the relic, if you clear an exo at that time and don't actually get to like shoot the exo itself to make the Thrax spawn, it will glitch the exo and you will not be able to clear this exo for the rest of the mission. This is a current bug. I will keep it updated in the description in the event it does get fixed. However, I doubt we'll get it fixed. So just make sure whenever the fellow on the right starts talking, just make sure you don't clear an exo. Just leave it. It's fine. You'll lose like 2 seconds, if that. It's not really a big deal. Just don't clear the exo, otherwise you will glitch it. Enemy density and like all that kind of stuff is really coming down to your host. If your host has high FPS or is like has a PC or anything like that, they're gonna have more spawns. But if everybody is separated and not paying attention to where they're at on the map, you'll have significantly less spawns. And what you want to do is you want to leave some corrupted. So like let's say you just popped your relic and there's a bunch of new corrupted up. You can kill those. That's fine. It's not a huge deal. However, if you popped your relic like a minute or two ago and there's a bunch of corrupted, don't kill them. Let them stay until your relic pops so that you can get the 10 reactant really, really quick in the next round so that you're not worrying too much about it. The profitability in actually doing arcanes, just based off current prices right now, Eidolon's is really, really bad, but we'll go off of Deviri because it's really, really good. Araxia just released. Primary Blight is at a very good spot. So let's say you run 20 runs. Essentially, you get about 1,000 roughly, not exact, 1,000 roughly Phosphor per run. That means you have about 20,000 Phosphor. You can turn that into Deviri Arcanes, and then you can make Primary Blights, Arcane Reapers. We know how much those go for. Primary Blight alone is at like 300. Arcane Reaper is about 400 right now. So you kind of do the math, and that's like the second part of it, because also you're getting prime parts. You'll be able to buy stuff from Barrow. You'll be able to sell stuff on the market, sell sets, all that kind of stuff. The plat per hour is astoundingly high, and it's very, very consistent. There is some movement tech that you can do. I may get a lot of hate for this, but there is the Proton Pulse tech. If you put the Proton Pulse on, and then you jump onto a wall latch, and go into your operator, you will get 100% parkour speed. This is a bug, but it gives you 100% parkour speed until you go completely dead, not down, but completely dead. There's been a surge. There was a bunch of leaks of it, and I think it's just very well known now, so it's worth putting into this. Then you have the operator sling tech, where you go into your operator. As soon as you come out of your operator, you're pressing jump, and it'll sling you very fast forward, as you can see in the video on screen. Parkour velocity. Parkour velocity is pretty much a necessity if you want to have high kills per minute, which is stat packing. I mean, I don't recommend it. However, getting around the map at abysmal rates is pretty necessary. I mean, I run about 100% parkour speed myself. I run 2 shards, Praetos, and Ice Spring on my frame. So I can just get around the map easy. If one of my teammates is lacking, I can pick up their pace if I have to. How to survive properly. Everybody here needs to learn how to shield gate. Shield gating is essentially when your shield breaks, you have a time invulnerable. Now that time is subject to how much shield you have. However, if you're uncatalyzing shields with the current bug, and yes, it is a bug. If you look at the Warframe wiki, it says that you will get a 1 second shield gate for roughly like 60% shield regen or whatever it is. But with the bug, what it does is it gives you a full 1.33 second shield gate, no matter how much shield you get. So basically, run an Augur mod, run Brief Respite, run something that gives you energy back on the cast of an ability, and just when you lose your shield, repop it so you're always invulnerable. That is what shield gating is. Another thing is parkour speed is a way to survive. You can use this as a method of not being able to get hit because you're moving too fast. The enemies can't free fire a lane. The Slide Volp will essentially give you Martyr Symbiosis, so when you get kills, it'll collect the health from those enemies that are dead on the ground. You can use that to then cheat death the next time you are about to die or hit lethal damage. There's a plethora of things out there on how to survive. Just do these things so that your teammate is not worried about you. Also, invulnerable frames, things like Loki, things like Revenant, Dagoth, small things like that. Invis frames are very overpowered. I'm not going to go over them. We did that in the last video. Thrax won't recap instantly. So if you have a exo that needs to be cleared, but you also have another exo that needs to be cleared, you can clear that exo, not kill the Thrax, and head to the next exo to kill the Thrax. You don't have to kill that Thrax and then move to the next one. Should you? Yes. Do you have to? No. You can get all the exos up as fast as you can. It'll make the mission go by quicker. Focus School. We pretty much always run Madurai. Madurai gives you sling strength, it gives you cast speed. It also gives you Contamination Wave, which you can throw at your enemies to then give you the buff. It also gives you Void Strike. Void Strike essentially consumes all of your energy, and you can use that as damage, and it one taps tracks at level cap. It's just very, very nice to have. There's a select few frames that can run without Madurai. Volt, Jade. I'm sure there's a few other ones. Those are just the namely ones. So get Madurai, get maxed out, get Contamination Wave. Contamination Wave is probably the most important, I would say, in my opinion. How to min-max Arcane drops. So sticking is technically bannable, right? However, if a exo goes red and you don't recap it, that is a quote-unquote safe way that you can do to basically spawn more Thrax, because when there are Thrax on the map, more Thrax are inclined to spawn, which means more Arcanes, which means more plat. Once you hit 107 exos cleared, you are now in the point of making plat. Getting to, like, making plat doesn't start when you go into Cascade. It starts once you hit 107, because then once you hit 107, the amount of Thrax is, like, at an all-time high. You will have plenty of Thrax spawning. If you have an exo red at all times and you don't capture it, even more Thrax will spawn. You'll probably get about 2-3 Thrax per exo. I don't recommend this, however, you can do this, and it is for the most part safe. If you stick a Thrax into a spot where they cannot move, you can get banned for enemy manipulation. However, if they're in the exo, it doesn't count as sticking because the Thrax actually isn't there, but it is to the coding, and Warframe has somewhat a spaghetti code, so that is why I believe it is considered safe. Enemy damage is anywhere from 1 mil to like 11 mil. So like Overguard is not a sustainable way to survive. Like Dante is not ideal. Like you need like a shield gate and an Overguard gate, like a double layer. You don't want to just have Overguard as your survivability. Obviously, if you have like a bunch of stat packers on your team, it's a whole different story. However, this is not a sustainable way to live in Cascade. Lock rotations. So, rotations on lock are every 2 rounds. It's about 10 minutes cooldown time, and they always spawn in the same rotation. So, for example, on screen, you see that this is the rotation. It's like whatever your lock is at, they always have like specific spawns. So let's say you spawn into one room and it's on all health orbs. Pop it and then wait for the next one, and then pop the energy orbs one so that everybody on your team gets 1 energy per second for the rest of the mission when they collect an energy orb. Time it well so that it's not right when the relic pops or right when you guys are about to leave. So for example, if you're on 1% life leech on the rest of your damage is guaranteed bleed proc, don't go for this if you're at like 80 exos. You're not going to get back around to the energy orbs one by the time you are done your run, unless you're going for like a 200 plus run. It takes about 10 minutes. A 107 exo is roughly an hour, so you're gonna be waiting some time before you get back around to the energy orb. But yes, they always spawn in the same order, so make sure you time it well with your team. Make sure it's not right before a relic, and you guys will be having loads of energy to be able to spam your abilities a little bit more. Traces management. When you are running Cascade, you can do rad runs, and essentially what that is when you run ESO or when you just have like extra traces. Make sure you use all your traces before you go into Cascade, because you will max out your traces after 1 full run of 107 most times. So use your ESO relic, rad up some other relic. It'll just make you so much more platinum, and you and your teammates will all be getting golds. You cannot complain about this. This is great. Spawns are a very difficult thing to talk about, especially if you are not understanding of exactly how it works. If you have one person, like if you have one person in one room and you have 3 people in the other room, the person in the first room are going to start getting trickles of spawns, but the main spawns are still going to be in the third room, or the room that your team is in. So you want to make sure that you are rotating at the proper time so that you get the proper spawns. The enemies will always spawn in the same place, mostly. Like once you start playing, you'll see where their big spawns are. They have like trickles of spawns, and then you have your corrupted spawns. They all have pretty standard and the exact same spots. So make sure you like start paying attention to where your enemies are spawning. You can kill them in their spawns and stuff like that, just to like give your team a little small break if they need it. Like, also you want to make sure you're still getting 10. You don't want to be spawn killing if you don't have 10, because you want them to come out so that you can get the full 10 reactant before you pop your relic. A real quick tip: when you are killing Thrax, once you've killed the Thrax and the ghost spawns, you can shoot your Incarnon at the head of the Ghost Thrax, and it will charge your Incarnon. That is a small thing that I think a lot of people don't know about. It's a free Incarnon. Just kill your Thrax, get your Incarnon up, go into your operator, and kill your Thrax, or whatever you gotta do. Fast proccing Onslaught. Onslaught is one of the arcanes that we run on our operator, as well as we run Eternal Onslaught and Eternal Eradicate. Fast proccing Eternal Onslaught, essentially what that will do. Eternal Onslaught and Eternal Eradicate are the two arcanes that we run on our amp to make us do more damage. One of them is for Void Strike. Essentially what you want to do is you want to, assuming you have all your focus schools maxed, you get the wavebound abilities. So what you want to do is you want to throw 3 waves and then dash twice at the ground. This will immediately proc Onslaught for every single Thrax that you are about to kill. Now, I don't do this personally. I always, for the most part, just cast my 1 contamination wave and then shoot the Thrax. Just hit your headshots. It's as you play Cascade, you will get more used to it. The hitbox is like very weird, but once you kill, like, I want to say 1,000 Thrax, you kind of start to understand where the headshot is. So just make sure you are paying attention. Pretty much all of this stuff comes down to like knowledge and playing the game. It's not rocket science. Obviously, there's a few things that like could be explained in a better fashion. However, like, these are just like the most like in-depth things like that you need to know. Notable subsumes. Notable subsumes are that of Zata's Whisper, Roar, Nourish, and I really don't like this ability. However, Pillage is very, very nice. Those are some very, very notable subsumes. Some notable frames are that of Revenant, Loki, Ash, Saren if you have Deocucore, any slam builds. Slam builds are very popular even after the nerf. I mean, these things are like, it's very min-maxy. It will save you time in the long run. So I do recommend you guys get used to these frames and subsumes as well. Also, another big thing with Cascade is once you get to level cap, if you use your Cephalon Samaris scans, you've seen that they're level 9999. What you can do is you can pull out a Cephalon Samaris scanner, and it'll take 6 enemies to completely fill your Cephalon Samaris standing for that entire day. This is also a second, third-hand kind of platform in its own. What you can do with this is you can buy Negate for an easy 50 plat every single time you get 75,000 standing, or you can take your chances if you like to gamble, and you can buy a Companion Ribbon for 100,000 after 3 total runs, or 5 or 6 runs, depending on your mastery rank. That will depend on how much standing you get per day. And you can gamble for a Burglass Ribbon, which will sell for approximately 500 to 600 unrolled. So that's also just another helpful tip if you guys want to make even more plat on top of the plat you're already making. Another thing is skips and delays. So a skip is essentially when the banner pops up and no exo spawns. That is a skip, so it won't spawn for another 30 seconds. But then you also have delays. Delays are standard things that you will only see in solo and duo runs. Essentially what a delay is when the exo doesn't spawn but nothing shows up. So it should have spawned but it didn't, and it'll spawn 15 seconds later. Does it really matter? Not really. Delays and skips are kind of that of just, it happens. If it happens, it happens. Not a whole lot you can do to fix it. Just clear your exos, play your mission, get the level cap, you get your aura screenshot. If you guys are interested, a huge shout out to the Cascade Club. The Cascade Club is a Discord. I will have their link in the description. A lot of the big players in there have helped me out with some of these tips that I should be giving you guys. They essentially have a roles system, so if you want to grind roles in a Discord and build up aura, all that kind of stuff, you can join the Discord, and you can take screenshots of your runs at 107, and you can apply for that Warframe's role. Special shout out to Palmy, because Palmy has done an incredible amount for me. I can't thank him enough. He's an OG, man. Augur as well. Augur is a huge help to me, and Kelsey as well. These guys are all great people. What is said in Cascade chat is nothing I can do about. I know, like, they talk some crazy shit in there, but it is fun to join in on that crazy shit. here and there. Now, honestly, I think that's mainly the most part. Like, again, learning how to roll tiles, it's huge. You can learn the doors. It's not like you don't need to learn the doors of every spawn. You can, if you walk into a room and you see it's a 4, then you essentially will go check the second room, and then you will invite your squad if that's a 4 or a 5. You will never see a 4-4-4 tile in the game. It's impossible to happen because 3 of the 4s are a variation of the same ones. That being said, I think that pretty much concludes this video. If you guys did enjoy the video, man, please drop a like. Go join Cascade Club. Join our Discord. We do have a Discord with an entire plat guide. What you can do with your Vosper, where you can spend it, is fairly updated for the most point. Also, we do stream on Twitch pretty much every day around 1 p.m. EST. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, man. I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Peace and love.